There's been a lot of drama on Twitter lately. A convention abruptly shut down due to tax evasion, and a very small group of furries who self-identify as Nazis making more noise than they're worth.
A very, very small minority that's giving, that's collectively ruining our reputation.
When really the fact is, there are no hardcore neo-Nazis in your little furry fandom.
People will tell you otherwise, but they're neo-Nazis, basically. Or at least, like, a lot of people involved in the group are, not necessarily the whole group.
Nazis are invading the furry fandom. The fuck?
Research shows that it's like they're not helping themselves if they're trying not to be connected with that particular group.
Today on Culturally Effed, we need to have a serious talk. The last time we needed to chat like this was last winter when I looked at the media noticing furries during the #TonyTigerGate Twitter storm. We're going to discuss the divide that's shaking the fandom, and yes, we will discuss Nazi furs. Defending a genocidal regime while being a talking animal is culturally effed. If you've been on Twitter or exist anywhere alongside furries online, you've definitely been witness to some very loud tweet activity, even louder than #TonyTigerGate. It's not our intention here at Culturally Effed to point at any specific individuals or the drama that certain furries have been in the center of, with some exceptions. Instead, we're looking at the larger problems that are being presented and, hopefully, what we can do about it as a community. Here's a quick rundown. Links to sources can be found in the description. Back in 2007, a Nazi fur group called Furries on Second Life actively sought out to troll and harass Jewish users of the online game. Furry raiders would later adopt Furries' symbolism, an armband with a paw print in place of a swastika, and other different variations of wartime flags and symbols used by the German Nazi Party. On the surface of it, the furry raiders act like any other furry group or club does, hosting the occasional party or event. They don't claim to be associated with Nazi ideals. Some of their membership drew some negative attention in their local Colorado community, allegedly threatening and assaulting local furries and getting banned from certain events for their behavior and problematic imagery. In 2016, the furry raiders bought up a quarter of all of the hotel rooms in the convention block of Rocky Mountain FurCon, preventing other convention goers from booking them. After some of the rooms went unsold, they eventually gave them back to the hotel. It is suggested that furry raiders on staff at RMFC enabled this to happen. It would also explain how no repercussions were made, since they technically didn't do anything against the hotels or the convention's policies. Last year, the far-right white supremacist movement, known as alt-right, became emboldened with the US election results, and the country sees a big spike in hate crimes. Known white supremacist and neo-Nazi Richard Spencer gets punched in the face on camera like a couple of times, and the punching Nazi meme is born. Some furries use the hashtag alt-right or AltFurry. Motherboard covers the alt-right presence in the furry and brony fandoms. This causes an instant backlash in the creation of a furry anti-fascist group, something Vice covers in an article in February 2017. In late January 2017, RMFC releases a statement banning offensive images, including armbands, as a response to the local community lobbying against furry raiders on the same day that a tweet about punching a Nazi was met by a threat to bring a concealed firearm to RMFC for self-defense. By the end of March, the Twitter user who was threatened with a gun received a bizarrely worded, very threatening sovereign citizen-style letter from the RMFC CEO. A full breakdown of this mess is what got the fandom a new Badger lawyer, the Boozy Barrister. More about him toward the end of the video. This is also when the hotel demanded higher security costs from RMFC. Meanwhile, the furry raiders attempt to rebrand away from their very Nazi roots, making the surface of their group appear much more tolerant. On April 10th, 2017, Dogpatch Press posted an article in RMFC, including the cease and desist letter and the furry raiders. Within hours of this article being posted, RMFC announced their permanent closure and revealing that they had not been filing their taxes properly for the past 7 years, and that the hotel was demanding a much higher security cost after police investigation. Media attention explodes! And there's dozens of articles in the mainstream media about this sudden and dramatic closure. Nasty rumors start to spread about the con, why it closed, and people start throwing blame at each other. Many pin the blame on the furry raiders who had a history with RMFC and the local community. Others blame the Twitter users who threatened to punch Nazis, SJWs, and those who threatened to bring firearms to a furry convention. On April 25th, Dogpatch interviews the RMFC con chair Soren, which helps paint a clearer picture from the convention's perspective. According to the interview, the con was notified of the increased security costs 3 weeks prior to the shutdown, and it sounds like it was the first the con staff had heard of these threats of violence.
Yeah, this was a bad one. They're all bad. They won't stop being bad until the Nazis are beaten.
So that was a lot. Underbite's here. We're gonna breathe. Breathe with us. Breathe in. And out. Okay, let's dive in. Thanks, Underbite. So, you may be asking, what's the problem? Are they really Nazis? What's so bad about X anyway? The thing I keep asking myself is, what can I do? How can I contribute something meaningful to this conversation? Part of the problem, to me it seems, is the division we've placed ourselves in. Maybe it's more of a microcosm of the political discourse at large, but I'm trying to keep the discussion relevant to the fandom. A lot of rhetoric in the furry Twitterverse is not done so with enough research, and it boils down really quickly to personal insults, which get us nowhere. The division is simple, common, and is applied to any group of people. Us versus them. You're either an SJW cry bully, or you're a Nazi. Neither of which label are helpful. Us is right, them is wrong. Newsflash, there never was an us or a them. We're all us. We are all in this fandom together, like it or not. So it's up to all of us to try to solve this argument and attempt to do so respectfully. Here are some of my thoughts. From here on out, you can consider this my opinion and don't reference this as fact. Feel free to sift through all of the show notes to see how I came to some of these conclusions based on my research. Us or them or us, all here together. Is furry too inclusive? It's the pride of the fandom to be open to any of the weirdos and freaks of the internet and providing a safe fan community to engage with. In many ways, the furry fandom's greatest strength is its inclusivity. We legitimize people's fantasies and make them feel at least a little bit more normal, letting them know that there are other people out there with the same talking animals in their heads. All are technically welcome in furry. All shapes, all genders, all political views, etc. This has created a beautifully diverse framework of furries from all walks of life. Anyone can be a furry. All they have to do is label themselves as such, maybe attend an event or join a chat group. Furry is an open invite party, though it may seem that this inclusiveness is starting to backfire on us. In the past, we were small enough that if someone stirred trouble, the news would spread quickly on who to avoid. These days, it's not as simple. We attract such a diversity of people. We do have lots of examples of very fringe beliefs and extreme views. It's easy to forget that the vast majority of the group are perfectly reasonable, respectable people when we have such loud and extreme personalities trying to dictate their limited views on the rest of the fandom. One response to this over-inclusiveness was the burnt furs, which Vero and Metrico of Feral Attraction talked about in our Ursa Major Award-nominated episode on how you perceive furry porn. The burnt furs lobbied against the over-sexualization of the fandom and, in a sense, were trying to censor the fandom. Censoring the fandom isn't necessarily bad. I can appreciate the safer work button on art sites and conventions' efforts to create an all-ages appropriate atmosphere. But the burnt furs also lobbied against alternative lifestyles like homosexuality and trans people, which was very distasteful to a fandom largely made up of LGBT people, so the movement fizzled out after only about 2 years. What I'm trying to address with this over-inclusiveness is how we as a fandom deal with bad behavior. People who harass online or in person, or individuals whose actions strain the relationship between convention and hotel. Rainforest 2016 was cancelled amid allegations of rampant vandalism and property destruction. As Bunny put it in his Rainforest postpartum article, what really killed RF 2016 was RF 2011 to RF 2015. During those years, the convention staff failed to deal with the problem behavior as it started happening. We didn't work with our venue to discourage bad behavior, and we didn't create an environment where people who wanted to solve these problems were able to. Whose job is it to filter this activity out and discourage these individuals from quite literally ruining it for the rest of us? Conventions are the institutions that glue this fandom together and make it go much further beyond just an art forum or a website. Conventions and in-person events make this fandom beautiful and let us embrace each other in actual hugs and not digital hugs flanked with asterisks. Conventions do talk to each other, and some preemptively ban troublesome individuals who were removed from other events. Others, worryingly, not only ignore the warnings from other cons, but actively broadcast that they don't ban people, which is basically inviting those individuals. It's a bad look for your organization. It's the job of organizers to weed out misbehaving attendees to show them that there are repercussions to their actions, that bad behavior affects the group and gets entire events shut down. About Nazi furs. Do they exist? Yes, there are Nazi furs. Definitively, people call themselves Nazi furs.
Let me just point out some good aspects, though.
Are they the furry raiders? No, not necessarily. The raiders actively try to brand themselves as all-inclusive, just like the fandom at large, and welcome furries of all backgrounds. This is contradictory to the actions, words, and tweets that some of their membership post on a regular basis. There is evidence that at least some of their ranks identify as Nazi furs, and have even gone as far as to donate money to and try to join real neo-Nazi groups. If they aren't currently a Nazi, they were in the near past. The knee-jerk reactions to these accusations are usually along the lines that homosexuals and people of color wouldn't be Nazis. For the most part, that's true. But historically, look up Ernst Röhm, a Nazi general who was pretty open about being gay and helped lead Hitler to power until other Nazis convinced Hitler to arrest Röhm. He would be executed before the war, and before outed homosexuals were forced to wear the pink triangle and systematically murdered. As for people of color, the Japanese were pretty okay with Nazis during the war, so don't tell me gays and people of color can't be Nazis. About their choice of symbolism. Well, Pepe the Frog is dead. The Nazis killed him. Or more accurately, they used his image to represent their ideas online. Pepe is registered as a hate symbol, and creator Matt Furry worked furiously to win Pepe back as a passive, peace-loving stoner, and not the hate symbol that he's become. That's not cool, man. Similarly, artists and writers for Marvel have had to explain that the Captain America for Hydra story is not promoting Nazis, but the alt-right have certainly been using their imagery against the original intentions of the artists. Symbols matter. Popular perception of symbols matter. If you have to explain that you're not promoting Nazis, you fucked up badly. I think that changing a logo to make it less offensive is far, far easier than explaining over and over and over that it's not like that. Unfortunately for the furry raiders, enough of them identify as Nazis that we still need to ask if the whole group are a part of that. We're all collectively making this Nazi problem worse, mostly by calling any racist or conservative a Nazi. If we alienate someone for a racist tweet or a stupid joke by calling them a Nazi, it alienates them from the group and into the open arms of real Nazis. No one likes being called a Nazi unless they are one. We can avoid doing this by scaling our criticisms back. Still call out racist, sexist, and assholes, but then leave them or block them. When they realize no one's listening, that's when they'll start to reconsider their motives. You don't solve racism by denying you're a racist. You solve it by admitting your faults and asking questions to learn how to better present yourself in the future. Try to refrain from a knee-jerk emotional defense and try to understand why someone is offended before pulling the free speech card. Are they an actual Nazi, Or are they a troll pretending to be a Nazi to get a rise out of you? That's just as awful as being an actual white supremacist. It normalizes it and emboldens other real white supremacists. I do not believe in ironic Nazis, unless it's a sketch from British television.
Our caps?
The badges on our caps. Have you looked at them?
What? No. A bit?
Have you noticed that our caps have actually got little pictures of skulls on them?
I don't,
Hans, are we the baddies?
What most people are referring to when accusing someone of Nazism is racism or fascism. There are a lot of white people in the furry fandom, and with that comes a lot of white privilege. We're seeing this challenged as SJW crybullies are trying to destroy free speech and censor perfectly legal racist remarks, so maybe they're the real Nazis. I can't roll my eyes hard enough. SJW stands for Social Justice Warrior, which used to refer to Tumblr users who got far too offended on behalf of a group of people they probably didn't even belong to. Now it seems to be labeled on anyone who's offended by anything, or even worse, people calling out genuine problems. These people are probably outraged for a legitimate reason, and calling them crybabies neither helps your case nor contributes any valuable counterpoint. SJW creates a false antagonist, a straw man argument, placing someone in a fictional role of the constantly outraged, and defending people's actions that don't really need defending. Do you want your words to make you sound like you're defending a Nazi and be labeled a Nazi yourself? Do you want to leap to the defense of a minority or someone who isn't in the room and be labeled an SJW? I'd be the SJW crybully any day of the week. The language you use matters. Attacking someone online, regardless of what side you're on, only makes them shut you out and reinforces their ideas. They double down on their beliefs in spite of you. More people of color are entering the fandom. As Furry spreads its fuzzy arms across the internet in a global hug, people from every continent are getting involved. Furry cannot grow if members of our fandom are actively shutting out furries who are black, furries who are Muslim, or basically any furry that doesn't fit in with someone's limited standards. If all are welcome in furry, then act like it. What can you do to stop this? Talk to your friends. Speak up if someone says a racist comment, and talk to them. Small changes make a huge difference. Even if it just lets your friend know that those things make you uncomfortable, at least you can get their assurance that they aren't serious. And if they were serious, maybe get some new friends. Another thing you can do, support furries of color. Furry Black History Month hashtag from February was beautiful, and it shows how much talent in this fandom is coming from people of color from around the world. Support their art, their video, their fursuit performance, and make them feel a welcome part of our growing community. Furry is like a family, and some families have that really racist grandpa or aunt or something. Right now, we're kind of dealing with our version of that. I don't want to label this as drama. Calling it drama belittles these very important issues. Drama is a label the community uses as a defense mechanism to avoid dealing with issues. These problems lie beyond the individuals that are involved and needs to be addressed by all of us. I want to end on a lighter note and address one individual, the Boozy Barrister, or the Boozy Badger. The fandom's new badger lawyer came in while investigating all of this. And after, he stuck around. He changed his Twitter image to a badger. He set up a Fur Affinity account, and he's invited to speak at just about every furry convention. I feel that this is a sign that overall, the furry fandom is handling these issues well. Better than it might appear on Twitter. Better than the small group of bigoted jerks and kids who just don't know any better want you to think. Here is something for you guys to ponder in the comments. Is this special to furry? Is there any part of this conversation that is unique to our community, or is this a small conversation in the larger discourse of the human world? I expect all of the comments will be thoughtful and respectful to the other users. I do not want to have to shut down the comment section, but I will if I have to. I challenge all commenters not to use the words Nazi or SJW at all unless you're specifically referencing something I said. So to conclude, RMFC closed for a number of reasons, including tax evasion and heightened security costs at the threat of violence. The furry raiders are not necessarily Nazis, but enough of their members have very questionable pasts. I believe the problem lies in the us versus them mentality that has arisen in the recent political climate. We have to be careful with labeling people, as it can be counterproductive, and likewise, we should all strive to be at least a little bit social justice warriors to help the fandom grow and foster a true community of acceptance. I have been your host, Arrkay. Thanks for watching.